Okay, so let's walk through setting up and doing a Hangouts on air. So first, a bit of a difference. So Google Hangouts is for video calling. You can do one-to-one or one-to-many calls with it, but its competitor is like Skype, things like that. But Hangouts on Air hooks into YouTube, which allows for session recordings and things.
I'm not joking. Is this being recorded?
Yes, this is being recorded via Google Hangouts on Air. So you guys know who I am. Adam Jimerson, software engineer, code journeyman, organizer of the Google developer group Gig City. You can hit me up via email or Google Plus if you have questions or anything. I don't have a Facebook, I don't Twitter, so you're out of luck on those if that's your means of communication. So what do you need to do a Hangouts on Air? First of all, you need a computer, you need a broadband connection, and for a one-to-one call, the recommended speeds is at least 1 megabit per second asynchronous. And to do a Hangout on Air, the recommended is at least a megabit down, 2 megabits up, because it is high def video and audio. You will need a Google Plus account and a YouTube account, which can be the same as your Google. So once you have a Google Plus, all you have to do is just log into YouTube and it sets you up an account there. And you need to attach the two, so then it can record over to the YouTube servers.
Now, when you say you need to attach the two, what do you mean by that?
You do it during the setup process for the Hangouts on Air. It'll ask you to verify who you are, and it's just a matter of getting a 5-6 digit token from them, putting it in. That way, they know that there is a person there.
Okay.
So, what can you expect to learn from here? Well, obviously how to start Hangout on Air sessions, how to attach Google Plus to YouTube, and how to use some of the tools within Hangouts and screen share. So let's begin. Oh, well, if you don't have popcorn, you're kind of out of luck now. So from the Google Plus UI, you'll click or hover on the little home drop down there, and that will bring down a list of options. And among those, you'll hit where it says Hangouts under Events. And that will take you to a page that looks something like this. Right now they're running a banner above all this to advertise Hangouts on Air. But you'll just click that blue button that says Start a Hangout on Air. When you do it, pulls this up. You need to title it. You'll put in a description. And then the title and description also gets sent over to YouTube, so the recorded version of it will have that same title and description automatically. Now you can say that it starts now for an impromptu, or if you're doing like a podcast or a meeting or something like that, you can schedule it for a later time. And then when it gets closer to time, Google Plus will send out reminders to everyone that who your audience is that you're about to start, so then they can hop on the call. And then you have an audience field here. You can do a public Hangouts on Air, and when you do that, your Hangout will actually show up over here. People can just join in whenever they want, and you have control over it, so you can mute their mics and things, or make sure that they don't hijack your video, or you can just have an open session. Anyone can do like a Q&A, anything like that.
But can you also limit?
Yeah, you can limit. So you can just put in like a circle. So if you want to do it with family, or if there's specific people, you just put in their contact information. And if they don't have a Google Plus, you can just put in an email address, and they'll still work. It's just you have to have the Google Plus and YouTube for this. So in this case,
they don't have to have a Google Plus account?
No, to watch it they don't.
Okay.
Because they can even watch it from YouTube, because it live streams on YouTube as well. So in this case, I shared it with myself, so this is a truly private Hangout on Air. And once you would hit the share button here, and then it pops up this box there that says click here to verify your YouTube account. So
Yeah, where you put your token in?
yeah, so you'd click there and it would take you over to the YouTube page.
So you shared this with yourself?
Yeah.
Which you said makes it truly
private.
Yeah, so no one but me can join the call or see the YouTube video that this is created.
Make a training video.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
And so once you hit that click here, it pops you into YouTube with this interface. It's this two-step process. So first, you select your country, and then you tell them whether or not you want them to call and give you the token via a IVR call or text. And then you just put in your phone number and click the submit button. And then, where'd my cursor go? So once you do that, like a couple of seconds later, your cell phone goes off, you get a token, you put it in this text field here and hit submit, and congratulations, your YouTube account is now verified. So you would just click continue. It'll take you to your YouTube channel's control page. Here it's just a basic dashboard. So you want to make sure that your community guidelines and your copyright is in good standing. That means you haven't violated any terms of service, you haven't used any copyright material without permission. Because if you do violate any of those, they will revoke your privileges of doing this. So you want to make sure that both those are in good standings, and the longer videos you want to make sure is in good standings as well. With a account in good standings, you can do a Hangout on air for 8 hours.
Wow.
And the way to get that privilege revoked is you do too many of those long ones? Or?
No, you violate some kind of terms of service.
Oh, okay.
So you do something like play copyrighted materials, you're publicly flaming, or being, yeah.
Yeah.
So from there, you just go back to the Google Plus page. You click the share button again, because we all have that. It'll go look up on YouTube, see everything's good, and it jumps you to your event page. Now, you can do a couple things before you start. So Hangouts on Air has what they call a Q&A. So you can enable that, and people can start filling in questions that they want you to answer, even though the Hangout event's not started. And now there's a applause feature, so there'll be a little hands thing there where people can give you live feedback on how the stream is going. And you can do some edits here, so if you forgot to put something in the details, you can edit it beforehand. You can, clicking the share will give you the ability to share this out onto Google Plus. And then down here on the links, there's links for this page, there's a link to the YouTube live stream, and there's a link to even embed the YouTube player in here. So if you are doing a public or sharing with other people, and they don't want to actually be in the Hangouts, but they want to see it live, they'll push the play button here, and that will enable the YouTube embedded version so they can see the live stream. But once you're ready to do it, we will hit the start button. Now to get access to it later, in case you scheduled a later event, you'll go into the home drop down. It'll be under the events section there.
So it'll have a link there?
Yeah, it pulls up this, and you'll have that page there. And so you can click on that and go back into that same event page that we were just at. So from here, it's time to start our Hangout on Air. So we'll click that start button. The Hangouts UI will pop up. It will ask you if you want to invite any other guests in case you are doing a event where you have a caller in or a guest speaker or something. You can invite them in here. You can do age requirements, so you can make sure that only people 18 or older can join. And if you don't want to do any of this, you can just hit the skip button.
Now, how do you vet that?
It looks it up on their Google profile.
So if they don't have a Google profile?
In that case, they wouldn't be able to join in. Now, the first time you do run one of these under your account, it will pop this up. It's the terms of service. So you'll just have to read it through it, hit the agree, and continue. And this is only a one-time thing. So it's the Google Plus terms of service, YouTube, and a copyright notice all rolled into one long text. So once you hit the agree and continue, you're now into this interface, which has quite a bit of options. So first thing you'll notice is there's this little thing over here saying whether or not you're on or off air. And then over here where it says enhanced, it will do Google Plus Auto Awesomes. So it will try and correct for colors and brightness and things. And you can enable or disable that, or you can do custom filters. So if you, for some reason, you wanted to be hipster and do SEPTA, you can switch that to SEPTA, and everything will be kind of brownish. And so, no, it's just the 2 meg requirement for upload. And they will tell you, like right now, that was at HD when I was doing it. So walking down the left bar, we have a text chat room. So people can be texting and write in things in case they don't have a mic, or in case you mute people's mics so they can't interrupt you. You have the screen share option. There's the Q&A module there. This one is just a capture, so it'll take a screenshot within the current Hangout page. So if you're doing a public, even people can do that. So you have a slide up and has information that people want to see. Instead of them having to do a screenshot on their computer, they just hit that button, they have a screenshot. So like, it will download to their desktop. It's on their local machine. So it'd be the same as if you're giving a speech, someone whips out their cell phone, takes a picture. You have the cameraman controls, so you can do and work with other people's cameras, make sure that people don't you can turn off other people's cameras in your room and things like that. You have the control room where you can control people's volumes, mute their mics, or even eject them from the room. So if they're not being polite or anything, you can just kick them out. And then the bottom one is a third-party app that's really useful. It's called the Hangout Toolbox. And it does a lot of interesting things that we'll go into later.
Those, the cameraman and the control panel, whatever you call the tool.
The control panel there?
Is that just an on-air thing? I've never seen that.
Yeah, those are only on-air and moderated Hangouts.
Some of that will be useful in regular Hangouts.
Yeah, unfortunately, they don't share that for the regular ones. You can do the control room, though. So this is within the Hangouts Toolbox, so you can do things like set a custom lower third for people in the room. Now, you'll notice now that the video is actually flipped. This is the default, and if it annoys you, you can. There's a button right there that will mirror the display so you can see it as people see it. But even though it's flipped here, it doesn't mean they see it flipped. They see it the right way.
I didn't realize that it was flipped until I was now looking at the room in the background, and you're right, the windows are on the wrong side.
Yeah. And so within here, you can set the custom lower third text. You can change the colors. So the border there, you can set a custom logo. And you can even do custom overlay. So if you design your own lower third, you can upload it and use that instead of using the default one. And once you get the lower third the way you want it, you can name it and save it, and that's on your local machine. It uses HTML5 storage for that. So it's persistent on that machine. And then some other ones, you can do some basic volume controls. I did not take screenshots of those, but I will walk through them on the UI separately.
Do you get the option of where you want to save it, or does it?
No, it just saves it into the HTML5 storage.
I was just wondering if there's a way that you could maybe put it on Google Drive.
It is a third party. You could probably email the developer and suggest it. But see, here I just hit the button, I flipped it to prove that you can. I'm originally from Missouri, so the Show Me State.
There you go.
So you won't see them now, but to the left of the start button, there's a bunch of little dots. That's the audio levels for you, so you can see the feedback as you're talking. And then that button will start the broadcast. At that moment, the live stream is active and it is recording to YouTube servers. But when you do that, it'll pop this up and it will look at the states of your Google account and tell you how long you can go. So in this case, it's letting me know I can run for 8 hours. I don't know why you would want it to talk for 8 hours or hold an event that long, but they allow it. So now you'll pop you'll see this pop up saying that it's on air, and there'll be a little orange tab or yellowish tab there letting you know. So yeah. So now you have an indication there and there that you are live. And then it's hard to see it, but here is a viewer count that does pull for active people in the Hangouts as well as people watching the live stream. And then there's a link button there in case you need to grab the YouTube link for people or anything like that. So if we were to click the screen share button there, it'll pop this up, and it's a little overwhelming, especially if you're on a Unix system where you can have multiple desktops and multiple screens, because it will give you an option per physical screen as well as an option per desktop workspace or panel, whatever your operating system of choice wants to call it, and also specific applications. So you can share just your Google Chrome or just whatever. You do have to be aware, though, if you're sharing a screen or a desktop, it is possible to get Inception or Infinity Mirrors. So that's one thing you want to be careful of.
And will you know if you're getting it?
It's usually if you're like sharing your desktop or something and you flip back to this, because then they'll just start screen sharing the Hangouts UI. And so when you're done, I hate this room because it's cutting off down there. When you're done, there's that button that says start broadcast became a red button, and it will be end call or the end broadcast. You'll hit that. It stops the live stream and everything, but you can continue in this room. So in case you did have guests or whatever, you can do like a post-show talk, see about how things went or anything like that. And then but the Hangout is dead. You can't restart it at that point. So you want to make sure that when you hit the stop broadcast button, you really mean it. And then when you're ready to leave, you just hit the hang up button and end the call. No, it just goes, okay, and then pops up a thing saying that your video will be available on YouTube in a couple minutes.
If you've recorded a Hangout and it's been private, but you want to make it public at a later date, can you do that?
Yeah, so it starts off as a private, so they need the URL to see the video, and then you just go into the YouTube Creator Manager, and you can set it to public or anything like that.
Okay.
So it starts off as a private thing, and then you can make it public.
Okay.
That gives you time to go in and do post editing,
That's
because YouTube has a really good video editor built into it. And so once you end the call, it drops you back into this page, and you can share the links if you want, so you can grab that. Since it is shareable by default but not public, they would need that link to see it. And so let's do some more in-depth look at the UI here.
I knew that.
Oh, wrong thing. I was trying to grab that. I'll resize this window down. I can tell my fans going crazy running 2 Hangouts at once, as well as the Google Present software.
That little Chromebook's working overtime.
Well, this is my Mac.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay.
All right, so like right now, this is just using the original, so it's not doing any kind of adjustments, but you can tell it to do auto awesome, you can force focus, you can tell it brighten or anything like that, or you can even black and white it. Although you won't be able to see it, but we'll record as broadcast as such. So walking down here, this isn't a Hangout on Air, this is just a standard Hangout interface, so it won't have the cameraman or control room, but we still have our chat room, and it does IRC style commands, so you can do /help to see the list of supported commands. You can even mute people from here, so you can adjust their volume controls, things like that, do private messaging, so /MSG someone, things like that. You still have the screen share option, and as I said, it will grab pretty much everything currently running. So if we click this, it would just, and I took a photo of myself. So inside the toolbox though, so we come into here, well, we want to do a lower third. And this is a bit difficult since this doesn't scale well. Oh. Thank you. It's because I'm running multiple Hangouts, so I can't turn that on. But you could put in your name, your tag there, and then save it. Yeah, this is the volume control, so away mode, it would mute my mic. Haven't quite figured that one out. They haven't quite implemented it. Actually, I think that may be the community thing. So you can have it look for specific tags. So it would search like the Google feeds or like Twitter or anything like that for any tags you put in, so you can see mentions for things. And that happens in the comment tracker. So you put in a URL, and then it could search for a specific term you put in. I don't have a URL for it to search for, otherwise I would show that off. And then within here, well, I guess we do have, no, it just displays it. So you can do Google Drive, so you can even do collaborative document editing within Hangouts. So you would launch it, and it may throw errors since I don't have caching. Oh, hey! So we will create a shared scratchpad. Share. My email's already public. So now anyone in the room has access to this, and you can collaborate on things. So instead of having to do chat room or IRC or a phone call, you can just do it straight from here and bang out a document or whatever you have to work on, and then it will save to your Google Drive.
Now, will it save to Google Drive on both users?
Yeah, it would be shared. So whoever initiates this, so it would be on my account, but it automatically share with the people in the room. And so, yeah, we'll just delete it. Go back to the drive. Yeah. And so to open and close any of these, you just click on it and then again to turn it off. And there is an app store, so the so you click here and it'll give you a list. But Google Effects, it has little interesting filters. They'll do overlays of things. So yeah, that's, oh, it won't let me do a pirate hat. But if you enable something like that, it'll do facial recognition, overlay it on your face, and as you move, it will follow along with you. It's a little bit laggy, but it's just a cutesy thing.
It's hilarious.
Yeah. And then this is new, so remote desktop support. So you can be inside here, and someone's like, well, I can't get this to work. You launch this app, and then they allow you to have access. you can do remote desktop through here, so you can control their machine, fix the issue, get out of it, and everyone's happy. And that uses the same protocol that Google developed for the, I can't think of the name of it right now, the Chrome remote desktop support. But right now there's a wide selection of third-party apps that you can throw in here. You can even do games. There's people who play like Dungeons and Dragons and games like that via Hangouts, because they wrote apps to do all of the mapping and the character models and things. So it's interesting the things people are using it for. I know this may get banned or fail, but we'll see if we can do this. Yeah, it's gonna pop up over here. Never mind. So that is pretty much Hangouts in a nutshell. Once you get it started, it's not too much.
Well, now, so how are you recording this stuff so far today?
Do what?
What's been recorded today already? How is that being implemented since the people weren't here? You know what I mean? Learning how to do it.
I've created a document with a step-by-step list and I shared it with the presenters with what they needed to know. So log into the Google Plus with this account, and then go into the event page, find your session, and just to get started.
Yeah, for those of us who bothered to implement the instructions in the document.
And that's going to be on the Drupal website.
Yeah, we'll publish all the videos onto the website. It'll probably be broadcasted out via Twitter, and Code Journeyman has a Google Plus page. We'll probably put them up there too. And so, so we're done with this one, so we'll leave this call.
So I have a question for you. What's been your experience with doing screencasts using Google Hangouts? Does it work pretty well? Because I've actually been trying out some of the screencasting software.
Yeah.
I was thinking about purchasing something, but if this actually will do it for me, then I can do it without having to make an investment.
It works really well. It's the video is flawless. I use it all the time for the Google Developer Groups. I record all of our sessions with Hangouts on air, and so all the videos are up on YouTube after the fact. And if you want to see the quality of it, I can log in and let you watch some of the today's sessions already to see how they look and how the audio quality is. You do want to have an external mic, and there are some other. I do have like tips and tricks. So there's suggestions on how to get do a good broadcast and things like that. Now I'm going to go into here in a little bit, but it works really well. It's easy to do.
Yeah.
The initial configuration's a bit weird because it's not quite transparent. But let me get back to my slide notes where I can advance that. Yeah, so if you can't tell, I like crazy GIFs and presentations. And you gotta love Bollywood. They're good at absurd.
Yeah. So I have begun using Hangouts now for about a month for all my audio calls as well, taking them and making them.
Oh yeah, it works as a VoIP now.
I mean, it's great.
Yeah, it works as VoIP now. So the Hangouts app is slowly being rolled out, and it has its own dialer that will dial out via your Google Voice number.
Right. So I was going to say I have a Google Voice number, so when someone calls me, if I'm sitting at my computer and I'm using
Your Hangouts will ring. You can answer it there. You can make outgoing calls.
And I'll tell you something else that's kind of interesting.
Let me show that real quick. The outgoing call.
I use that to dial into like a conference call at work. I'm on Hangouts. They're all on our proprietary crappy tool at work called Adobe EGC, right? But what's kind of cool is I can bring up that Google effects, and if it's one of those awkward moments where someone's asking a question and nobody talks, I just hit the cricket button. It goes tweet, 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 and everybody cracks up. They think it's hilarious. So.
So yeah, you can make outgoing calls with this. So when you launch there's an app called the Hangout Calls. It just puts it in your Chrome app tray that's now on pretty much every operating system ever. You'll get this screen with a link to share. If you're doing that, you can invite people, or you can click the add telephone. And now this will do a VoIP call out. So you can just put in someone's cell phone number, hit the call. You're on your computer and they're on their phone. They don't know the difference.
But you've got to have a Google Voice number.
If you have a Google Voice number, it'll dial out with your Google Voice, so they will recognize it. Otherwise, it'll just use a random phone number out of San Francisco.
But if you got a Google Voice number, when they call you,
this will ring. You'll get a notification saying that so-and-so number is calling you via Hangouts. You can choose to answer or decline it.
Do you have the plugin in your Chrome browser for Hangouts?
Yeah.
So it's a lot easier to make a call there. You don't have to click that extra button. You just go down to where you would normally type, somebody to invite.
Yeah.
You just click on it and a phone pops up.
Yeah. There's also there's a Chrome extension called Hangouts that gives you that option as well. And you can do it through Google Plus, the Google Plus Hangout thing. You can put in a cell phone number or Gmail. There's a little call icon you can put in a phone number in. So some Hangout on Air tips from Google for the Google developer groups at least. So you want to end the Hangout on Air after the speaker shows contact slide information or the last slide, because typically people watching these streams won't be interested in the Q&As, and those typically lead to long, awkward pauses where they don't know what's going on. So you'd want to kill the broadcast then, take your Q&As without the broadcast, and if you want feedback from the people who will be watching that, you can enable the Q&A module, or set up a survey somewhere, or just ask them to email, things like that. Or if you really have to take feedback from Hangouts on Air, give them priority. So address their questions first, and then end the call, and then address the audience there. And so they also recommend holding audience questions until the speaker's finished, to also stop the pauses and the weird breaks. And if you're doing multiple setups, so you have a camera recording the actual speaker, and then you're also showing the screens, so you can do the slides. They recommend switching over to the speaker camera while they're switching applications. That way you avoid the weirdness going on the screen.
Is there a tool to switch between cameras?
With Hangouts, you'll see the feeds on the bottom right. It's just a matter of clicking on the one that you want to be active. And so some others, you can create a intro and outro graphic or audio to play. So you'll have visual and audio cues of when you're starting and ending. And a external microphone is recommended. You can use the internal one, but the audio quality is not that good when you do so. And if you're going to be broadcasting the speaker, you want a high-def USB camera, so you feed in via that. You definitely do not want to use your webcam on your computer. That is definitely horrible quality.
So for multiple cameras in one Hangout, have you got two computers?
Yeah, so you have a computer running a Hangout session that's doing the video camera, and then you have the presenter. Yep. And then I'll go into more in depth on that, but Google has what they call the two setup, one control. So you have, go into that later. But basically you have one computer doing one task. Yeah, so two laptops, one setups. So you'd have one laptop that signs in with the account that's going to be doing the broadcasting, and it just worries about the control room and the cameraman, making sure that people's audio is okay, things like that. Then you have the main video laptop that has the USB camera hooked up to it that's recording the presenter. And then the speaker's laptop is also on the call, so they can screen share their slides. And then the control laptop can switch between the two video feeds. And then there's a days before checklist. So you want to verify that your Google Plus account and your YouTube account's okay for your control. And then you want to make sure you have your camera. And they recommend using a hands-free wireless mic so then the presenter can walk around instead of being stuck in one place like we have. And most of those tips came from the Google Developer Group Wisdom page, and there's a link there. I'll publish these slides so you can access it and see that, because they have graphics and things showing it. Here, I'll help you out, Brian. Screenshotted it. And party on.
You mentioned you might show us one of the Hangouts that's already happened here.